All right, hello everybody. This is Ben Kaplan. I'm the editor of I Run Magazine, and we're doing your virtual expo for the Scotiabank Toronto Waterfront Marathon. And I'm very pleased to tell you that today we are here with none other than Dylan Wykes, world famous runner and coach, and among other accolades. And I'll just let him give you his brief bio before we dive in.
Sure. Thanks, Ben. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I was 2012 Olympian in the marathon for Canada, and I'm now a coach with Mile to Marathon. It's lots of fun, and I'm also a lead athlete coordinator for the Ottawa race weekend. So wearing a few hats, but that's where I'm at. I'm here in Ottawa with my family.
Very cool. Now, one of the things that Dylan did with the Ottawa Marathon race weekend was host a virtual 10K Canadian Championships. So, what we want to talk to Dylan about today, and for all of you guys watching who are about to prepare to run a virtual event, Dylan has arranged these on high level and he has participated and he knows a thing or two about a thing or two. So, why don't you tell us first what you did in Ottawa?
Yeah, so with Ottawa Race Weekend, Canadian 10K Champs, we turned it into a virtual thing. So we told people they could run wherever they live. We put some limitations around the route in the sense that we wanted it to be an out and back, and our reasoning there was so that there wasn't like people weren't like running down a mountain, so that there wasn't like a huge elevation drop. And we had people recording GPS. We had someone else with them recording GPS on a bike and also recording video. So with the Canadian Champs, it was like a bit of, there was some more kind of things we put in place, some guidelines, some restrictions to make sure that people were like all doing it above board. Not that you want people to, or expect that people are going to try and like cheat the system, but yeah, so we just set it on that day. It was on Canada Day, and people signed up. They said go for it anytime between, I think we gave people a kind of a 12-hour time period to do it, to upload. I think the upload was through Sports Stats. So those guys helped us out, and yeah, it was kind of fun throughout the day. The videos came in and the results would come into the leaderboard. So it was kind of gave you a race feeling, and it gave some of the elites a chance to run for something. There was a little bit of prize money and a little bit of donation to charities that was matched for athletes' prize money too. So that it was, I don't know, I thought that was cool.
So now what Dylan's working on is he had a bunch of like Olympians and Olympian caliber talent racing each other. So for like me and you, whoever's watching, like we don't need, like if we could find a net downhill, like good, because we're not going for anything and we're not going to beat people like that. So, but in terms of how you set this up, now it's interesting because the Scotiabank race has a marathon distance and half marathon distance. Now, it's one thing you guys did the 10K, and you could find, I guess you could probably find a 5K out and back where you're not going to have to deal with trains, and whatever else. But what do you think now as we set out to do this? And I mean, how far in before, we're doing the virtual expo this weekend, but if I'm going to do a virtual marathon, like when do I need to set up my course, and how do you know anybody who's done that? And like, what do you think about even a half marathon too? Like it's a lot of terrain to try to get uninterrupted.
Yeah, that's a large, a long distance to cover in any city, especially a major city. And, I imagine a lot of people in Toronto are going to be doing this, but hopefully all over Canada, all over the world. People are probably going to have to do loops.
Yeah.
I would say loops. And you know what?
Smart.
Doing a loop is a good idea as well, because unless you have someone that is nice enough to ride a bicycle beside you the whole time, doing a loop will allow you to maybe set up a little aid station or have someone around that can pass you a drink, or like even, maybe you drive your car to a spot and you leave it there and you stop at your car for on each loop or something like that. So
Love it.
Yeah, I think that'll be a good possibility for people, no matter where they are, is to make a loop. And if you're doing a marathon, I don't know, a 5K loop might get a bit tedious, but a 5K loop is probably easier to map than like a 10K loop. And certainly you should be mapping these things ahead of time, even running's parts of them ahead of time if you can too. Do some
Yeah.
recon.
Oh, that's such a good point. Hey, ah, the doorbell rings. What to do on a Zoom call when the doorbell rings, people? Can you just
Hey,
watch this for 1 second? We're
I
live.
mean,
That's what. Oh, he just dropped it off. No
it
problemo.
could be some new shoes, right, or something.
I
Something you
mean,
need.
let's hope. I tell you, though, I like that, and I hadn't thought of it because I'm doing this too, guys, and I hadn't thought of doing the loop, but that does make the sense because I was thinking I would have to go out in the morning or go out the day if I was because you're gonna probably run in the morning, right? We're gonna race in the morning, so you'd have to kind of almost go out the day before and stash your water bottles. That doesn't work, but the loop is nice. The loop is
Yeah, it's worth a try.
yeah. And what do you think? So when you saw your people's performance on the 10K, I mean, we had a guy on Mark Sutcliffe's radio show the other day who did the virtual Boston and got a PV. So people are doing that. I mean, do you think I mean, I guess everybody's training is going to be at a different level, but like, I don't know, how do you approach these things and how serious should you take it? It's going to be different for everybody, but like, as a coach, what are you telling your people?
You know what? As a coach, it's like whatever people's goals are, we're just trying to help them towards them. And some people are super motivated.
Yeah.
So, I'm not pushing people to be like, listen, this virtual thing, you really got to get dialed in. You got to nail these long runs to be ready. Because some people, they just can't like wrap their head around getting as excited for that as they will for the real race. But I mean, so it's very different for everyone, but I think like the participation side of things is important
Right.
for everybody. It's like, there's people who, no matter what your reason to be out there, and I think it's the same in the real live races, there's people who are there just to participate. There's people who are there really for the competition. And so I think we're going to find the same with all of this virtual stuff. And certainly I found that with my athletes that I coach, that there's a wide range, and you just have to kind of help each of them dial it in and not push anyone too much if they don't want to be pushed.
I love that though, that it really is just providing I mean, all of the subtext of these Zoom expo calls we're doing all say like, enjoy it. If you're getting out there and doing a half marathon or a 10K or a marathon, I mean, any of that stuff you're doing, it's like, take it with, we're living in unprecedented times. Like me and you were talking before we started recording this about dropping our kids off at school. It's like, look, the world is upside down. If you're doing your virtual marathon, like, chill,
Totally.
it's, yeah, I think that's good advice. And what are you seeing though, in terms of doing it? I mean, in terms of, because we're going to be running without pacers, I mean, the majority of us. So, I guess talk about some approaches you might do for an event.
Yeah, I think people really have to be realistic about
Right.
their expectations of themselves going in, and try not, especially with a marathon, and try not to waver from that too much. It's like, you can be early into a marathon and be feeling really good, be like, I'm gonna pick it up and I'm gonna go for it, and then 25K in, you're like, oh, this was a bad idea, I should have just stuck to my plan. So it's I think everyone has to be realistic with themselves and kind to themselves, and just be, as you say, like, grateful given the circumstances that we're out there doing this in any capacity, and just try and like enjoy it, but don't just go in rogue. Make sure you have some sort of plan.
It's such a great point though, because without having to, I mean, you might be tempted since you're not forking over the big bucks and going to Berlin or some kind of thing. So you could just like casually throw your hat in the ring, but like the marathon doesn't know that you're casually throwing your hat in the ring. Like the distance is still going to be it's a hard thing to do, even if you think you're just taking it light.
The distance will come back to haunt you no matter how well or poorly prepared you are. So
Good
just
point.
beware.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great point. I mean, and you and I talk about the marathon, but we could just as easily be saying the half marathon or the 10K or the 5K or anything. I mean, wherever you do, whatever distance you're doing. I mean, even though the parameters of this event are going to be different than what it might be like if you showed up at the Scotiabank Marathon that morning, but you still need to, it's a challenging thing to do. It's a
Yeah,
challenging thing to do.
it it applies across the board, 100%.
Why
No
don't you
matter the
talk to us
distance.
a little bit then so now we told him to take it easy, but now we're telling him like, don't take it that easy because so give me some prepping advice. And why don't you talk to me all the way through with like, what you like to use so let's say I'm setting up my course and I'm going to do the loop. I think that's a great idea. And I'm going to put a table somewhere that I can swing by. What do you like to put on your table? Help us with some of the fueling.
Yeah.
Start with that.
Yeah, with that, I usually like to have gels and water and sports drink. So I'll probably have a bottle with just water, a bottle with sports drink, and then some gels. And maybe the gels you can you can carry on the person on your person in your pocket or something like that. But the bottles, I don't love the idea of carrying them. People are getting more and more used to carrying them. That's fine.
Yeah.
But I like to mix between sports drink I kind of get sick of, and gels I kind of get sick of as well. So switching between the two is good. Taking the water with the gels is usually a good idea.
Right.
And it's like ideally you've practiced some of this stuff beforehand, and okay, my stomach can handle taking a gel every hour or every 30 minutes. It's variable for everyone, right? But yeah, every time you kind of come by that aid station, you should take something, or if you're carrying it all with you. And you need to be diligent. Even 5K and 10K, not quite as important, but even half marathon, you got to be diligent about when you make a plan to, okay, I need to take a drink or take a gel every 20 minutes or 30 minutes, whatever. You got to do it, like, because in the thick of the race, even in the virtual setting, maybe even more so in the virtual setting, you might decide, I don't need this right now, I'm not going
Yeah.
to do it, but just do it.
You're saying every 20 to 30 minutes.
Yeah, you should take something, whether it's water. I'm going to lose power here. We're getting our technical difficulties, so I'm going to get my cord. But yeah, I think you should be taking something. I mean, it's getting cooler out, so I've been hooked on summer training,
Yeah.
where you definitely need that. Maybe it won't be as bad once we come to October, but nonetheless, I think it's something that it's important.
And what do you do? Give me a sense now, like the weekend before, and then, the night before, the day before. I mean, we want to take this thing. Now I'm totally switching gears and telling everybody like to take this real seriously. I mean, because if you're going to go out there to do the thing, give yourself the best chance you have to succeed. So, okay, take it with a grain of salt. If the light is red and you see a car coming, don't try to beat the car to like cry. I mean, okay, let's not be stupid. Don't risk your life. Stop if a car is coming. But okay, outside of that, why don't you talk to me about what you might do if this was the Olympics?
Yeah, for sure. I think, I mean, you got to taper properly, right? For any distance, 5K, 10K, half or full. So tapering, usually it depends on the person, but it looks like reducing your volume by, 50% or so in the week prior. Your last long run or your last hard workout shouldn't be closer than 7 days before the race. And then you're just basically in those last 7 days doing easy running and just focusing on good sleep, good nutrition. I mean, nutrition is like, it's variable for everyone, but just eating what you, I'm not going to tell people exactly what to eat, but what you think is reasonable. Don't eat cheeseburgers and French fries every day. It's probably not awesome, but, and yeah, sleep is really important. And then you've got a carbo load for some of these events. You know, the body only stores glycogen for about 2 hours of activity, and then you go into depletion. So for some people, that's going to be over the course of the half marathon. For everyone, that's going to be over the course of the marathon. So making sure that your glycogen levels are topped up before you race by carbo loading in the days before is great. And, you know, for me, I had this, I would get sick of just eating, like when carbo loading. So I took to doing like a carbohydrate drink. You can do like the over the counter stuff like Ensure or like a meal replacement drink, or you can go to like a supplement store or even some grocery stores probably have just like a powder, a mix. And it's really just, you're just looking for carbs. There's no way around it. It's just like, I remember a conversation I had with Krista Duchesne, who's also a dietitian. And it was the night before one of our marathons. I forget which. And I was eating some green vegetables. And she's like, Dylan, you don't nutrients aren't that important the night before. I don't know if that's like good for your stomach to have something like that is that fibrous, the night before the race. And so I stopped eating it immediately. And then ever since have just focused really on the carbs in that kind of meal the night before. It's like, it's boring. You're eating pasta or rice or whatever your thing is, maybe a little bit of protein, but like you're not looking for a well-rounded meal at that. You're just topping up all those carbs.
And are you talking about that's the night before or 2 nights before? Or
yeah, usually like I would start carb loading like 3 days out and bumping up the amount of carbs I'm taking in by, maybe 30, 40, 50 grams kind of each day, kind of bumping that up each day. And then, yeah, certainly the last day is important. And usually in those 3 days before, I just think about like not wanting to have that feeling of being hungry at any point. So like having snacks around a lot is good, like granola bars or I don't know, whatever is your thing to kind of, that has quite a bit of carbs that'll keep you going. Because when you have that hungry feeling, it's like you're starting to eat into your glycogen stores, and we don't want that. You want to be topped up.
I like it too. And by getting yourself, you sort of turn a crank when you start tapering and you start changing your diet. Part of the reason why, not you, but part of the reason why, like me, or what, it's nice to sort of like go with the seasons, and then like you get into your true warrior mode. And some of it is like just mental, that like if you're doing this and you're doing that, and you got your playlist, like the big runners, Dylan and them won't listen to music, but like I will, and to make a playlist and to do these things, which is just sort of like leaning into the event. I mean, a virtual event too, like the more everything is like a fine line, right? You don't want to freak yourself out. Like if you can do these things and have fun with it, but making a killer playlist and like setting out your outfit and like giving yourself, as long as that stays on the fun side and getting into your thing, because you might as well make this weekend different from all other weekends. Like, you bought the ticket, take the ride, give yourself the chance to
100%. And I think it's like all that stuff is, it's important to make like a checklist of all this stuff that we're all talking about, and not just like kind of wing it and be like, oh yeah, I'm going to do that run on Saturday morning. And then like Friday night, you're like, oh yeah, okay, what do I have to do here? Just like, it's good to, there's going to, even if you're not trying to set a world record, there's going to be some like a little bit of anxiety around the, performance on the day, and making sure you have your ducks in a row beforehand with everything from, the route we talked about to all this other stuff, and is important and part of the experience. And some of it is even more, you have to take it upon yourself, right? Like there's no bands out there on the course. So let's get that playlist dialed in. So, it, at the 20K mark of the half that you're going to have a booming song that's going to get you through.
Yeah, I mean, just by doing these things, I mean, you just want to give yourself the opportunity to succeed. You know, none of us are Kipchoge. You are, none of us are, but we're just trying to, go out there and make a go of it. This is great stuff. I should have told everybody at the beginning, like, take out a pen. Maybe I'll write in my preamble that they should write this stuff down. You really giving us a lot to work with here. Give me one last one. Just take us out of here. I mean, I think you've been very generous with all this stuff. It's a good wealth of information that I think is sincerely helpful. I mean, I'm tell you, I'm doing this stuff too, and it's I'm going to use a lot of this stuff that you told me, man. So thank you. Is there anything, throw a couple more into the fire that might help?
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of planning that route, if you can avoid stops, especially later in the event. I mean, I know it's hard in some cities Ottawa, we're blessed to have these bicycle pathways and pedestrian pathways that don't cross traffic nearly ever. But certainly late in the race, it's try to be on an open stretch of road, because no matter if you're going easy or if you're going super hard, if you have to stop at 38K of the marathon, or late in a half, or even a 5 or 10, it's just detrimental, not only to your time, but just your mental fatigue and stuff like that is just thrown off. The other thing I would say is tell your friends, tell your families, text them, send them a note, say, this is my route. If you can come out, cheer me on at some point, great. I think not having the fans on the course is an element that will be tough for everyone. So yeah, you don't have to, even though we can't gather in big groups and have these real races, you don't have to make it a completely solo thing,
Yeah. Dylan is such a homie too. I've seen him on races. I don't know how many times I've done an event and I know particularly, I could just remember seeing him there. And in fact, all these guys do it, because I've seen Reed Coulsett, who's another Canadian Olympic. I've seen Reed on the side and around the bay, and I saw Dylan in Ottawa. And these guys, they stand out there and they cheer for everybody else, and they do that. I mean, it's a cool thing, and it means something. I always, whenever I see you there, I always call you out, and it is it's nice having somebody out there. Make it a thing. We're all doing the best we can. COVID and everything is so stressful, and work and family and everything else. So if this could be some sort of celebration, something else to think about, and if you could give it to your loved ones or something, and give them something else to think about, and to see mom cross a finish line. I mean, I guess it would make sense to make some sort of variation of a finish line that you can cross, and lean into it, right?
Totally. Yeah, 100%.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate your time. Everybody, good luck with your race. Good luck with your event. Dylan, thank you so much, man.
Cool. I appreciate it. Always love Canada Running Series and Waterfront Marathon. Alan and his whole crew do a great job. So thanks for getting me involved here.
Mile to Marathon, check it out too. I think they do virtual coaching also, don't you? Or do you?
Yes, we do. That's correct.
So
yeah, you can check it out.
All that stuff that he said, he could do that for you specifically, folks, right there. He's the man. All right. Take care of yourselves, everybody. Have a good day.
Thanks, Ben.